Many spend their days passively searching for something interesting to do. Others dig in and find it. While nothing is certain, anything is possible. And the anticipation leads you into action. Because it's here that adventures begin. Stories are unearthed. Secrets are revealed. Fortunes are found. Mysteries are solved. And the past is brought to life. Nothing valued is ever lost. It's simply waiting to be discovered. So here's the question. What are you looking for?
It's Thursday. It's 8 o'clock, and it's the big detective show. Good evening, Adrian. Are you doing a Captain Birdseye thing now or something?
No. I had an instant, didn't I, just before we went on air?
Yes,
I had a demolition in the studio, and all the rigging fell down, and I just found that. And
you had your incident. Luke's had his incident where everything said that nothing was happening, and Luke just had to disappear because his system went down. So I had to take over a little bit late, so that's why the brief late start. So I apologise for that. How are you, Adrian?
Yeah, I'm good. Bit, when we get into the studio tonight, the courtesy car that picks us up didn't turn up. That was running late, and then when I got here, I had to do loads of autographs and stuff, and finally got in the green.
Sorry. Are you in some form of parallel universe?
Yeah. No, I'm okay. Are you all right, Dave?
I would be better if I had £540,000 in my pocket.
Well, not only that, but they also auctioned the rights to the footage and photos of the coin. Did you know about that?
No.
I forgot the name of it. So basically, the coin went for 540,000. I think it was more than that, wasn't it?
I've seen 648 bandied about somewhere.
Yeah, so basically, it went for that. Bear with. Sorry. They had pictures and an animation of the coin, and the rights were sold at auction and went for £15,000.
Wow, that's good.
And kindly, the Spink, who were the auction house, and also the finder, who we won't name because he probably doesn't want to be named, donated £7,000 of it to Rodney Cook Memorial, which you might not be aware of, which Gary Cook told me, which, that before the rally started, they've already got 7,000 quid in the bank.
That's fantastic.
Lovely coin.
Absolutely. And I had a lovely day on Saturday. Went to meet a friend who was in the chat room for a couple of hours. And then Kerry. I met Kerry. And then, but don't tell anyone. Don't want Rob Random getting all jealous and stuff. And then our good friend, what's his name? Ben, who was with us at Detectable. He went to a Noble Pursuits rally and picked up 2 Bronze Age axe heads and a bronze punch. And then I was invited as well with Shane, Steve, and Ron. And they had 2 James III pennies. And one was absolutely pristine.
Nice. But you didn't go
No, but I think Shane was actually there. Not very happy.
No.
Anyway, I know you've been looking forward to speaking to tonight's guest for quite some time now. Thanks for him to join us again. Mark Olly, how are you, Mark?
Hello, not so bad. Just listening in.
I had to get me preambling out the way then. I don't want to waffle on, you see. So
that's all right.
Brought you in now. So, Mark, thanks for coming back and joining us again. As I said, Adrian's got lots to ask you. There's lots more to find out because I know you've probably been very busy, knowing you as well as I do.
Yeah.
And you've even texted me today and said that you might have some exclusives for me as well, which is
one or two. Yeah, one or two. Do you want me to get one of them out the way?
Oh, get one out the way.
Do you want me to save it till the end?
No, get one out the way.
Right, I got this.
Bring everybody up now.
There you go.
Oh, you book.
Proof copy. You'll see it's got like the proof thing across it. 1st of March. It's Crystal Skulls and Human Heads. It's the new book. I think it's priced around a tenner. You can get it on Amazon. I suppose you can pre-order it, but officially it's 1st of March. And you are the very first human beings to set eyes on that. So there you go.
That's fantastic.
It's archaeoscience. So there's a lot of nice, pretty pictures and things in there. I'll try and find a pretty picture for you. But if you're into like crystal skulls and you like your prehistoric archaeology and you want to know more about the DNA side of archaeoscience, etc., this is what happens when you don't put me in a hole. When I'm not allowed to go into a trench, I end up doing things like this. So it's got loads of crazy spirituality in it as well. But I guarantee I've read it a few times in the last few days to proofread it and stuff. And it's all right. It's not bad. It'll rattle a few cages and it's a bit sort of out there left field. But I think it's going to be a pretty damn good seller. And I've done it with, instead of going with my normal publisher, I've gone sideways, and because of the nature of the subject, it's more popular in the UFO community. I've gone with a publisher called Philip Mantle at Flying Disc Press.
I know Philip very well.
Phil, fabulous guy, honestly, great guy to work with. Had no problems getting the book out at all. Absolutely superb. So it's on Flying Disc Press, but it's still really cutting edge archaeology. That's basically what it is. But it's the archaeology of the future, rather than, sitting down a hole with a trowel and all that. But like I say, it only came today, so I thought, well, may as well announce it tonight. Get the plug out the way. That's the commercial done. Everybody out there, dash out and buy it, please, because I desperately need the money.
Well, I know there's certainly be a young lady in our stream who will be reviewing it for us. You've been told.
Fabulous. So yeah, it's so that's the first exclusive, really. It's been a while since I had the last one out. I mean, I've done loads of books. I think the last one was The Green Man.
Do you know, if I look around here, I'm bound to find one somewhere.
Oh, there'll be one somewhere.
Definitely somewhere.
Ninth Legion, The Green Man, Life and Times of the Real Robin Hood, ROBYN HOODE, if you go searching for that one.
Well, I've got your Warrington books.
You
one
will
and two.
have.
Oh, I've got the 3, 1, 2, and 3.
Oh well, I've actually one of the finds from one of those books I brought with me tonight, so I might use that later on if you want to have a look at that. The oldest man-made object in Cheshire.
Dave,
what?
Dave,
Sorry, I'm looking at me.
Should we get Mark to introduce himself to those people who haven't?
Yeah.
Mark, that'd be a fantastic idea if you'd like to introduce yourself for those who don't know who you are.
I did that for the Christmas special, I'm sure. Look at this now. Dave now leaves the room. Oh, you've got that one. That's number 1. That's number 2. And number 3's got the green man on the cover. So, yeah, his
So
green
we've got 1 and
screen's
2.
playing havoc with those. Yeah, archaeologist, started off many, many years ago, qualified with Liverpool University, did loads of digs. Musician, been doing that for a long time as well. Started doing all of that when I was still in single figures, age-wise. I'm now, a little bit past half a century old, so I've been at it a while. And I do books, I write books, I do television, I produce documentaries. I've done Lost Treasures is probably the most famous one. That was a series I did for ITV, which actually ended up running for 6 years. It took us 4 years to film it, but Sky took it and it ran a while. And I was absolutely determined in there that there was going to be metal detectorists. You know, I'm not like certain other companies and television people who have shied away from that. We had loads and loads of metal detecting in there and finds. It was all about ordinary people. We did 22 episodes over 4 years, which is not bad going. A couple of documentaries for Sky. So that's probably what I'm best known for. But since then, 2 of the books have been converted into documentaries. We've got one on the Ninth Legion, one on the Life and Times of Robin Hood. I think the Robin Hood one's still on DVD. You can get that. And then I've worked for 1 or 2 other channels as well. As you know, I believe Adrian's got to ask me something about that. I do other things. I'm quite broad-minded in the scope of things I tackle. I've done a UFO investigation. That's Europe's Roswell. That's out there. Funnily enough, that's starting to reopen again because there's some more interest being taken in that. So you might be seeing some more from that in the not-too-distant future. And I just keep turning up like a bad penny. You can't get rid of me, really. I'm in 2 bands at the moment. I reformed my high school band and we broke all world records by getting together again after 40 years and doing an actual repeat gig. Check this out. 40 years to the time, day and location, back at the same high school with the same audience and the same set. And we did it 40 years on to raise money for the school. So I don't think any other band in history has ever been able to achieve that. Same lighting crew, same sound crew, same everything. He's passed out. Adrian's passed out. He can't believe it. Look at that. And then I'm with another band. This will be the first exclusive time I've ever mentioned it. I've joined a professional band again called Copperworm. And we're going on tour. Copperworm. We're a 3-piece. We're a bit like sort of Nickelback meets King Crimson, you know, with a hint of Pink Floyd in there somewhere. But we're going to start touring again around about March, April, doing gigs. So I'm on drums. I'm the noisy one at the back. So that'll be fun. Be nice to be back there again. So really, that's a bit about me. I believe the technical term for it's a polymath. I have a crack at most creative things. Like the new book that's out, so I get another plug in here. I did the cover for that, and I also did all the photographs and the artwork for the inside. But Philip's done a fantastic job of laying it out. So credit to the publisher where credit's due. And he's doing an audio book of it. So go and buy it on Amazon.
Oh, that'll be good for me because I listen to Audible all the time. So
yeah, definitely. Audio books are the way to go, I think. It
is. Well, we only chose the bloke to do it today because we've had quite a few different guys and girls audition for it. And I've gone with a sort of a young scientific voice that keeps people awake. So it should be quite nicely done when it comes.
Well, to be honest, Mark, I think you might have missed a trick because this week the Lost Tapes of History, the latest episode was released, Arthur and the Sex Therapist, and and the sex therapist is actually wearing red and is just above you to the right a little bit.
Yeah,
Adrian's got something to like.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it. Lost Tapes of History, Kerry. I really enjoyed it. And I've got to thank her so much, not only for letting me do it, but I've achieved something which I didn't realise would happen. Maybe Kerry, it automatically does it when you do a podcast, but I'm on the Internet Movie Database now as an actor.
I'm on the database as well, but whoever put me on didn't put all the Lost Treasures episodes on. So you've just got this piece of blurb, so it needs updating. But yeah.
You've actually done real stuff. Well, not that.
I have actually.
I haven't been on Sky,
movies,
or
we don't shout about that. But yeah,
Kerry says, just to note, it is fiction. Adrian is no way qualified to talk about sex, and she put you on IMDb.
Oh, right, thank you. I am qualified to talk about it.
Mark, I'll just so you know, basically, Kerry created this podcast. That the first season was taking historic monarchs from history, obviously, bringing them into modern day society and put them into the first 10 minutes of a conversation, be it with a sex therapist, and etc. etc. Season 2 is Tudors in modern society. Episode 1 was me. Lambert Simnel, sorry, and me, the chef. I was the chef. Right. Could you imagine that? So we had lots of fun doing it, and
in a funny way, I sort of can.
She's the comedic value of it is absolutely fantastic, especially his episode. I was crying in work.
Well, there's a lot of double entendres in my one.
If she ever wants to do the Vikings, she could do Sacred Wind. She could do one of the Viking characters, because I drum for that band as well. I'm a session player for Sacred Wind. There's only 2 of us really in the band, and we're both drummers, but it's all program stuff, but it's proper Viking metal, if you know what I mean. So we could do something with the Vikings if she ever wants to.
Well, I've just introduced her to Norsemen, and she very much fits as Freya, very much.
Brilliant.
Right. Enough about Kerry, because she does love attention so much.
She is just an attention seeker. She loves us talking about her.
Mark, just going back to your book that you've held up earlier.
Do that again.
Where did you get the cover from? How's the cover put together?
Right, that's quite simple, really, for me. I photographed a replica skull, which is the thing in the middle, and it just so happens I've also got a modern day crystal skull. So under completely different lighting conditions, I had a bash at that. And then what I did was I had this idea, this concept that inside the crystal is the human. So I put the human skull back behind the crystal skull, sent it in as a kind of a demonstration copy of what I wanted the cover to look like. And lo and behold, there it is. They've actually put my original on the cover, which is quite a striking image, really.
It is. I like that a lot.
Yeah, it's also the idea that we as kind of humans, as people, as biological entities, are kind of staring out, if you like, through this strange, unearthly technology, which is, of course, quartz silica crystal. I mean, the subtitle kind of says it all: the mystical history of glass and the extinction of the world. So it's, like I say, it's quite an interesting read. I imagine a lot of people who know nothing about archaeology are really not that bothered. They'll pick this up purely for the content. Mm-hmm. It really does sail the boat out there. And it's got a lot to say. It's what happens when, like I say, you keep me out of a trench and you lock me up over COVID. I slowly go nuts. And anyway, this is the result.
Wasn't it Lloyd Pye who made an entire career out of the crystal skulls himself? So...
Yes,
it is a big business.
Yeah, there's a lot of crystal skulls in there, but what I've tended to do is I've tended to go why, when, and what's the connection. In other words, why bother with quartz anyway? Why do crystals anyway? What's that got to do with the price of fish? Why has that got anything to do with ancient civilizations? And the outcome of that, without sort of blowing that chapter, the outcome is quite startling. It's one of these books where you'll slowly read it and you'll think, why on earth is he going on about this? Why does this end up being in this bit? And how does this bit fit to that bit? And as you gradually go through the book, it's like all of a sudden the bits start to fall into place and it begins to make sense.
That's actually like knowing you're in real life, to be honest, Mark.
Well, it is very much like that. Yeah. There's a hefty element of shoot it's a duck in there as well. You know what I mean? It's like if we can't prove something and we've got no evidence of something, I've tended to leave it out. But if I can pick it up and I can kind of go, yeah, that's it. It's there. It's real. It's physical. We can deal with this, and science has got it and tracked it and understands it. Then it's in the book. So from that point of view, it makes a lot of sense. It's a very sensible, down to earth book.
So what led you to actually choose this topic in particular?
I came up with a bit of an idea for doing something about 10 years ago. And I started it off as a PowerPoint. So if people have seen me out there, I actually toured the PowerPoint one year. I went out, usual sort of 50, 60 venues end of the year. And I went out to all these different venues and I did it as a PowerPoint. And it kind of puts a lot of the points out there, but then it never had a conclusion. It never actually came to a proper end, the PowerPoint. It's one of the few that I do. It's probably the only one I do, actually, that doesn't really have a hard conclusion. And it was so popular, and everybody was saying, well, you need to put some of this information out there. I've done it. I did it at Probe, which is a big UFO conference up in Blackpool when it was still running. So it's had a bit of sort of being out there. People are aware of it. And then I just thought, when I was under COVID, I thought, what have I got in all of those PowerPoints that could say something about how we're going to get out of this mess? You know, where's it going to take us? How we're going to climb out of the pit that this, you know, virus thing has put us into. So I thought, well, what I'll do is I'll go for it. I'll really go for it. And this, I'll try and get a conclusion for the book. And I have. It's concluded. It's not a massive read. It's whatever it is, 36,000 words or something. So it's not huge. But it's, you know, little book, big explosive impact, a bit like one or two of the others I've done.
Sorry.
It's all right. That's the background behind it. Go
on. I think ever since like being a kid and growing up in the 70s, and when we had 2/3 channels, unlike today where you got 2 million and you don't know what. I always remember Arthur C. Clarke and the crystal skull on that and the intro. And that, do you remember that? And it just used to fascinate me. And I can remember I was saying to my dad, what's all that about? And he'd say, well, you can stay up late, school's tomorrow, but you can stay up. And your parents would let you stay up late to watch stuff like that, educational stuff. Yeah. And I can remember I remember watching, I can't remember the music, but it was, I think it was going around the world and it had sort of people in jungles and it was an amazing program.
That was Willie Fogg, mate.
Oh, yeah. No, but ever since then, crystal skulls have always interested me. Like they have lots of other people. Well, and anyone who doesn't know about it, read up on it.
Technically speaking, a proper crystal skull, proper in the true sense of the word, needs to be life size. It needs to be completely handmade, and it needs to have some age to it. And the funny thing is, I've actually got one. I do own one that falls within that definition. So it's not tiny. I mean, it's a big thing. You know, it's life size. So that came out of me going to South America. So I've been down there. I've been to the Yucatan Peninsula. I went everywhere. I talked to loads of people, checked out the archaeology. So there's a big chunk of that that's gone into that section of the book as well. I have actually gone out there and looked at the temples and whatnot out there as an archaeologist. So I thought I can start using some of these more international experiences I've had over the years. Everybody knows me for British archaeology, but I'm not widely known for anything else. I mean, I try to get out of the country every year if I possibly can. Obviously not for the last couple of years, but I do try and get around if I can. So I spent quite a while looking at things in South America. So that experience is in there as well. Including a photograph of the skull that I've actually got, but it doesn't say it's the one I've got because I don't want people breaking into my house to steal a skull. I don't want any of that nonsense.
Well, we only have 5 watching, so I won't worry about that.
That's fine.
Yeah.
You spent a while in Egypt as well in the past, haven't you? I know that when you're talking about you've been to Yucatan Peninsula, you were a tour guide in Egypt for a while.
I went out there with a group of people to go around all the sites. So I'm pretty familiar with Egypt from end to end. I mean, just for the record, off the top of my head, I've done Norway, Malta and Gozo, Turkey, Tunisia, Morocco 3 times, Egypt, Yucatan Peninsula. Trying to think where else I've been. France, all kinds of different things in France. Ireland, went over to Ireland. Recommend the Guinness. Get the Guinness in the pub next to the Guinness factory. It's like nothing else on earth. Forget this stuff that we have over here. It's horrible. I've been around a bit. Favorite bit was definitely North Africa. I love North Africa. I've been down to the Sahara Desert and talked to the Bedouins down there. I was actually looking for Vikings, believe it or not, in North Africa, and I think I've got enough evidence to prove that they got down at least as far as the Canary Islands.
Wow.
Because they actually, the kings of the Canary Islands in the 9th and 10th century had an army of Vikings that were working for them. So the idea of you sort of doing the Lawrence of Arabia thing, you know, going across the desert and some, you know, bloke dressed in blue on a camel and he rides over the bump, and stood over there by the coast is a bunch of Vikings, both in the same frame. You know, it just, your mind just goes, you know. But there's a lot of commonality between old Viking society and the way that the tribes, the Berbers and whatnot, are living still out there in North Africa today. But it's not something that has been explored by Europeans, but the archaeological community out there in Morocco, they are fully aware that there are connections. They're aware of it.
Well, it's only the last 5-10 years that they've actually confirmed that the Vikings hit North America. So
yeah, well, they also hit North Africa. So that's probably another exclusive, actually. I don't think anybody's ever said that before, but there you go. They definitely did.
Where haven't you been, Mark, where you would like to go if you could just...
I've got one or two places sort of in mind. Another place I went was Bulgaria, because I was just thinking then I would like to go to perhaps some of the Eastern Bloc countries, former Eastern Bloc countries, and have a look around there. I believe there's a lot of stuff, you know, worthy of note, especially going east. I'd like to go east as well, I think, and have a look at some of the Oriental cultures, China, etc. But the way the world is at the moment, I might just have to wait a while before that happens. But yeah, I'm kind of being drawn in that direction. I'd like to go and have a look over there. I mean, if they ever make a documentary out of crystal skulls and human heads, it'll send me all over the place, because there's all kinds of locations in there, including China. Hey, sorry, I'm letting my motives out now.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to go to China. I always have done. Nearly went once with work, but it got cancelled. But yeah, I'd love to go to China.
I would love to go and visit that. I can't believe I forgot Bulgaria, actually. I had a lot of fun out there. Bulgaria's a great place. I'd definitely recommend you visiting there. If you're interested in the Scythians and the Pazariks and the kind of the Russian, southern Russian steppe nomads, there's an awful lot of stuff out there that you would never think of. And their history, their archaeology parallels European archaeology and our archaeology extremely well. I came away with the impression there was some kind of connection there, even though we're so far apart. And of course, they are the gateway, if you like, between Europe and crossing through Istanbul into Turkey. So they've had a lot of traffic. They've had a lot of traffic through there, all the major cultures and what have you. But the Roman archaeology out there, pop your head. It really would.
And you don't necessarily think about Roman archaeology there, do you?
No, not the first place you'd go to. North Africa's not bad, actually. Tunisia's pretty good. They've got some absolutely stunning archaeology. I think one of the sets they used in Gladiator actually is filmed out in Tunisia. It's just incredible. One of these days, we'll have to do a radio show where I'm sharing a few of the things that I've found outside of Britain. I think I'd like to do that, perhaps, because I have come back with one or two interesting things.
Well, you're certainly welcome to join us anytime, Mark, and do anything, any topic of your choice.
Yeah, that'd be good, wouldn't it, Dave? Having live
Absolutely,
stuff on.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Forgotten what I was going to ask. That's one question, changing subject slightly. When you visit these different countries that you've travelled, Mark, what are people's views on UFOs, and how do some think it's some type of god? Do some people think it's scientific? What sort of views have you come across from people if you've raised it?
The first thing that springs to mind was I was on a coach trip, and I was heading towards, I'm trying to remember which site it was now, not Koba, the one with the step pyramid to Quetzalcoatl.
Saqqara.
No, this is, I'm on the Yucatan Peninsula in the jungle.
Not
This
Saqqara,
is Aztec and Mayan. Anyway, it's the pyramid with the steps. It's very famous. It produces an echo. I can't remember the name of the site now, to be honest. I don't know why I can't remember that. I'll have to look it up in my notes. Anyway, the point is, I'm on the coach. I'm sat at the front of the coach. We're just bibbling along through jungle roads and jungle tracks and stuff, heading to this tourist site. And the tourist guide just literally, I don't know why he chose me, but he turned round because he was sat next to the driver. He turned around and he went, "Have a look at this on my phone and see what you think." And he puts this video footage on that he'd filmed the previous year. And all you can see at the bottom of the screen is this little step pyramid like that. So you've got this little tiny thing with this little like chapel on top. And then all of a sudden, this whopping big beam of light comes straight out the top of the pyramid and just goes straight up into the sky. literally like someone had turned a spotlight on. And he went, that's energy. He went, that's the energy in the pyramid. He said that only happens at certain times of the year when you've got your planets and whatnot in alignment. And he showed it me. It's a good like couple of minutes worth of video. And he went, what do you make of that? And I just went, I mean, pyramids are supposed to be these amazing power plants. You know, they're supposed to have power qualities. But he'd actually managed to film it, you know, and right at the end of the footage, it just goes off, literally just goes off. And the way it came out and the dimensions and the way it blurred out in size to the pyramid, it was almost certainly just coming straight out the top. It wasn't a spotlight or anything like that. I've never seen anything like that before or since. That footage has never turned up on the internet. And that's the kind of thing that tumbles into this UFO category. If you read the book, though, the Crystal Skulls and Human Heads book, I know I keep banging on about it, but you'll discover that a lot of cultures don't link their own artifacts directly to aliens. The famous Paracas skulls in South America, you know, these guys with the massive heads, they're also in Egypt, these huge skulls and whatnot. They don't think of them as aliens. When they tend to label them as aliens or talk about them as aliens, they are playing to our narrative and our view of things. When you talk to the archaeologists and what have you, they've got much more down to earth, sensible or startling conclusions about what these people are and what have you. Again, I'm skirting around this so I don't blow the book for people because it's not even out yet.
No, I understand.
But they don't always come down on the side of them being aliens. But yeah, they get the flying lights and they get things whizzing overhead and they get lots of strange things happening. But you know, that particular one on the Yucatan Peninsula, that Chichen
Itza?
It could very well be Chichen Itza. I think that has a little step pyramid. Yeah, I think it's come to me. That's something that's happened under COVID as well. It takes about 3 minutes now for me to get the data back. Before I just remember stuff straight away, and now it takes a while if you catch me off on the hoof, you know. But yeah.
No, I was interested because a lot of people around the world have different views on certain things.
Yes, they do. Yeah,
and it's quite we quite often forget that. Like you say, I was interested because we straight away think aliens, but other countries don't be daft or just don't contemplate it. So
they don't always go down that route. Yeah.
That's what I was thinking, Dave. Gods. That's what I was thinking. Yeah. Dave,
that's stumped you, hasn't it?
Yeah. I'm thinking of things that were because like going back to Arthur C. Clarke when I was younger. It's all sort of linked. UFOs were huge in the 70s and 80s, and sightings have massively dropped off in the last 10 years. Well, my local, I live in Essex, and we had a lot of sightings, and a lot of them they said were linked to Marconi research, which is a lot of research things going on around here. But there was a guy, I can't remember his name. He had a website and he was putting stuff up almost every couple of weeks, people's views. And in the end, he took it down just because no one was seeing anything anymore, which I found really weird and surprising because with the event of mobile phones more now, you know, no one, you know, when I was a kid, it was cine camera or a 35 mil.
I was going to say, in the UFO community, what seems to be happening is people now are just taking the footage and putting it up themselves.
Yes.
So all the material from the mobile phones is going up, and there's tons of it. That's why I laughed a bit. There's so much of it that it's very hard to see the wood for the trees.
Exactly.
As you know, Adrian, I used to be involved in ufology and such. Like I've stopped doing it 10 years ago now, and I'm still getting emails because my contact details are still on certain websites around the world. So I'm still getting emails semi-regularly to report things. I just pass them over straight away to Steve Mera now.
Yeah. Well, they seem to be on the increase again. I read the other month. They're coming back again. So
if you notice, whenever there is a new UFO film or there is something in the media related to UFOs coming out, there's generally a surge because it's in the public perception. So if you think about it, last year there was a big release of documents related to UFOs. So obviously, as soon as something like that happens, you get a spike again.
Yeah. Yeah, I know Steve as well. He does. Is it Phenomena magazine? He's he's my go-to guy, if you like. I helped him out with some Peruvian mummies of what they thought were little guys, little aliens, and I managed to prove absolutely conclusively that the heads were just modified dog skulls, which is what archaeologists do. We look at the evidence. So I gave him a lot of help with that. He won't mind me saying.
I was the sub-editor of that for the first 40 issues.
Oh, right. Congratulations.
Yes, we founded that together.
That's brilliant. Well, he's still
and now
going.
It is, and it's in multiple languages now as well.
Yeah.
And of course, when you talk about the likes of the Awakenings and the Crystal Skulls and such like, Steve's got an event on next year, which we're going to be promoting this year. We're going to be promoting for him with the likes of Eric von Daniken's on the speakers, Andrew Collins, Hugh Newman, all sorts of the people within that community are on, and that's at Blackpool, because the organisation that Steve is a part of are currently renovating and building this entire new Eric von Daniken land in Blackpool, so it's all taking part there, Adrian.
Yeah, is that?
I've already got an invite, mate. I've got a press invite.
Because that is huge, isn't it? I forgot.
Yeah. I mean, there's two international communities. One, if you count metal detecting, there's three, because you've got metal detecting and that side of history. And then you've got the archaeology and history community, the archaeological community. And then you've got this other community, which looks at mysteries and UFOs, etc. And I found over many years, that they do overlap. Sometimes in bizarre ways that you would never expect. The common denominator, though, is this fascination that we have as humans with discovery and going after mysteries. For most of those categories, the chase is definitely better than the catch. Somebody could actually point to a UFO and go, "Hey, guess what? This is it, and I've got one." Everyone would be like, "Oh, there it goes. That's blown that one out the water." So people are really fascinated by those categories of things. So I overlap them all. I don't limit myself to any one in particular.
I've just got to give a shout out to my daughter who's watching again. She's getting changing her whole. She's just becoming all interested in stuff. She's getting interested as an adult.
Good,
she's lovely. She's 8.
Well,
sorry, Adrian.
My daughter's came out detecting with me the week before last, and she's going to start doing it now, which is lovely. So all those years of being mocked and Mickey taken out of me and stuff,
So what you're saying is, as well as James going out and finding gold on your sites, she's now going to be coming onto your sites and finding gold seals now as well.
Well, yeah. Although I asked James what he found last weekend, pretty much, I think he found one Roman and that was it. He had a bit of a bad time. But
daughter's saying that she's bored. I'm not, Dad. I'm bored.
Well, it shouldn't be boring. I mean, I don't have a metal detector machine. But
No, she's bored. So she's watching this because she's bored. Look at that.
Something like that happens.
Is that a horse's head on either end?
Cow. It's a cow on each end, or a bull. And so
Go on, Mark. Tell us about
that. Do you know what? All I can tell you is that it came out of a junk bowl at a car boot.
No way.
I have no idea whatsoever where that came from.
And it's a talk?
I don't know. This is where it gets interesting. Yes, it looks like one. It's the right size for one. But why would you have the bull's heads flat? You see that?
Yeah.
Flat. I don't understand why that's the case. But if there's anybody out there that can tell me anything about that, I'm tempted to say, I mean, well, style-wise, the heads are Pictish, but I couldn't put a date on it. I haven't got a clue. I mean, it looks convincingly old enough to be like 1,000 years, but I couldn't resist chucking that one in. So when all these kids are going, "Oh, it's boring, I don't want to do that, I don't want to wander around," just hit a couple of these fellas and it's not boring anymore. So there you go. I've done it. I've been all over the internet for this. Can't find it. There's a silver Pictish talk from somewhere up in Scotland that has slightly similar bull's heads. But this thing's really heavy and it's made of bronze. So I haven't got a clue what that is.
Tony K was saying, is it sea serpents? Is it Viking?
No, it's definitely. It's different. Get it a bit closer. Hang on, here we go.
Does look serpent ore.
No, it's a bull. I guarantee it's a
Oh
bull.
yeah, it is a bull. Yeah.
If I can kind of just imagine that
Looks
mooing.
looks like a shady dog to me.
Or Pluto.
Yeah, possibly, but there we go.
It's a Disney bracelet from 1952. Yeah.
Oh, I wish it was. The only thing I know about it is it's bronze. So I no idea.
One of our elder statesmen, and I hope he doesn't mind me saying that, Jerry Morris. He says, and he's an octogenarian. Is that the correct word, Adrian?
Octogenarian. Yeah.
In his 80s, he says it looks zoomorphic Saxon to him.
Yes.
Yes, he's right with the zoomorphic. There's no doubt about that. But I wouldn't have necessarily automatically have gone Saxon. But yeah, that might explain why it's not a common find. You know, it's not. Nobody else has really had one. So, but I mean, the only lesson I say it every time. The only lesson to come out of this is why didn't somebody just write down where they found it? You know, it's really
the question to come out of it. Why put it in a bloody junk bowl at a car boot sale?
Whoever had it, it was in there with a load of ordinary modern just dress jewelry, you know what I mean, and other bangles and bits and bobs, and that was the only old thing that was in it. That was it, and there you have it.
Mental.
No information, don't know. So that one's got me stumped. It really has. That came out of right at the beginning of lockdown. That presented itself, and through the whole of lockdown, I just don't know. I've got a clue. Not been able to find anything about it.
Because your other hobby is antiques as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I do. I've always, again, nice story. I mean, you can't be an archaeologist and an antique collector, or you end up being Indiana Jones and you get labelled as a Tomb Raider. So I don't do that. I don't commercially sell things of that age and whatnot. But my dad was a furniture restorer and antique dealer, and my mum was a jeweler and antique dealer. So between them, they ran like stalls at the weekends, and they had her antiques unit and all that. They started in 1976. So my dad was the one that got me started in archaeology. So out of respect, I said, okay, I'll do, antiques, curiosities, world goods, whatever you pop up with, I'll help you with the identification. So I've done that for a very long time. So my extent of knowledge of old things is all the way up to vintage. You could throw something at me from the Second World War and chances are I'd know what it was. But it's only because of all the years I spent with my parents doing that. So yes, I do collect stuff. I mean, you can't help it. You end up being stuck with things. In fact, I'll show you something I got stuck with recently. Somebody actually gave me this. I thought I'll put this on the show. But if I'd have put all of these bits I've got out, I think you'd have finished up with a load of stones, because a lot of them are stones. Here we are. Look at that. Here we go. It's a
hold on.
Yeah.
How do we do that now?
Make it bigger, Dave.
Oh yeah.
Can't miss it. A whopping great big piece of flint. There you go.
Yeah.
And it's got this curve to it.
Yeah.
Now again, that's another one of these things where somebody just came along and went, I found this rock. Couldn't remember where it had come from. And it was left to me to track it down. It's actually for scraping the meat off bones. If you've got a bone, let's say that. Hang on, so I'm trying to do it. That's a bone, right? It fits, and you can scrape the meat off.
Wow!
And you can recognise it from the material it's made out of and the style of it. It's Clactonian, which is I'll try and get this right. It's about, let's say 400,000 BC. So it's an Ice Age tool, and it's the real deal. So there you go.
Good Lord.
I mean, I've got a few of these in my own collection, but not knowing precisely where it came from, it's useless to most people. It's a shame because you guys come up with all this gold and silver, and what do we do? What do we come up with? We come up with this: rocks and broken pottery. So that has very little commercial value, unfortunately. But it's tremendously old.
I must admit, when detecting, obviously you're looking on the surface, and a lot of the time I'm looking for bits of flint, arrowhead, and stuff. But I am metal detecting, and I quite often do get distracted because one of my permissions is very stony and rocky, and you constantly, your neck is your screen's there when you want to look at it, but then you're going like this all the time and swinging a detector. But my granddad he took up detecting in the mid-70s, and he lived near a farm and a field, and he was going out every day when he was retired. He'd go for a nice walk and a stroll, just looking across the ground and the field, and the stuff he used to bring home. Those days there were Roman coins on the surface because no one really got into detecting. But you're right, it's a chase, isn't it? You just and I think you mentioned boot sales. I love boot sales, not because I want to get a 1997 foot spar for 20, but because I've already got to. But you're constantly looking out for that little bit of history that no one else knows about, and you can spot it there. And it could
amazed what turns up. Absolutely amazed what turns up.
Look at my find last year, Adrian. £5, and I got a Scottish Rites Master Mason's apron from Belgium.
Yeah,
for a £5.
That's amazing. I mean, I'd collect stuff like that as well. So yeah, I'd have had that straight away for my collection. Well, speaking of eyes only finds, when you're actually looking at stuff, I went out on a survey of a building with a friend of mine who was a photographer, who knew nothing whatsoever, nothing about archaeology at all. And we ended up walking back across the field at the back of the building. And as we're walking across, she picks up that and she went, "Is that anything?" Now, Dave will know what that is because it's in his book. I just thought I'd just bring that little fella out and show you. Now, it turns out it's a flint. You can tell it's a flint because it's got the spike on the top.
Let me do that thing I should have done ages ago. Sorry.
Yeah, it's been battered a lot on the bottom. If you have a look there, see all that damage around there? Somebody's actually hit it, and they've used it that way. Show you, and they've used it as kind of, they've hit it on top and used it as a chisel. Now, I picked that up. I took it off her and I said, well, it looks like a tool of some kind. I didn't know a great deal back then when I was doing stuff in the 80s and 90s. I said, well, yeah, definitely looks like something. So I actually took it to an expert in southern flints. And I said, we picked this up off a field in Cheshire. And he just looked at me with a blank expression on his face. And he went, "Nah, you didn't. Tell me where you really got it from." I said, "No, we actually did. We picked it up near Knutsford, near Tatton Park." And he said, "Oh." He said, "Well, you've just rewritten the entire history of the British Isles, because that's a Hoxnean chipping flint. It's for splitting bone and stuff like that. Wow. And they're only made in Hoxney and Suffolk. That's the area they come from. So this has been brought up to Cheshire from there, because there's no flint in Cheshire anyway. So if you pick any up, it's been imported. And they've got a carbon date for the site." And he said, "You're looking at somewhere around about 480,000 BC. And he said, at that point, Cheshire was under 2 miles of ice. He said, but clearly it wasn't. So my photographer lady, who takes all the credit, Leslie her name was, she picked that up, and history was rewritten in one go. The other side of it, of course, was when you get one piece of flint, you'll very often get a few. So it just so happens we've got a few. There's the rest of them. I think there's 8 of them in all. Some of them have been burnt in a fire, and some of them are kind of attempts at making tools and whatnot. But when you put them all together, when you put all the fragments together, what you've got is a campsite. You've got hunter-gatherers actually camping on the spot. So there's obviously no ice. There's no ice there.
Yeah.
The penultimate conclusion of all that was that when the Time team looked at Ice Age Britain, it was quite noticeable that their map kind of went along like this. And when it got to the north of England, it went like that back up and then carried on. So you could see this bit where they'd obviously decided that, there wasn't any ice there, so we'll just go up and leave that in. So definitely eyes only finds. If you can pick anything like that up, that would be fantastic. Keep your eyes peeled.
I found this.
Oh, I know what that is. Sea urchin.
Yeah, but it's in the flipping. It's in the shape of a heart.
Yeah, fossilized sea urchin.
Yeah, and it's got blinking lights. It's got sorry, get there in a minute. It's in the shape of a heart, which my wife likes, and it's on the mantelpiece. But it's got some interesting markings on the back
On the back.
that looks like it's been mounted on something.
Right. Well, there's. I can give you some information on that straight away as an on-site identification. They very often pick markings up because they get struck by ploughs if they're on farmers' fields. So you'll get a straight line or a straight blow. If it's not plough strike, what they used to do, those would turn up in prehistoric graves, in prehistoric burials, because they used to collect them as magical talismans. There's a lot, and I mean a lot of prehistoric graves in the areas where they're found. They get buried with them.
Yeah, it doesn't look like a plough strike. It's I don't know. It's got a couple of straight lines in, but they're not straight. They look like they've been scraped
Dug in.
through. Oh wow! I love it. It's one of my favourite surface finds.
Chances are, I'd say prehistoric burial.
Can you remember where you found it, Adrian?
Yeah, it's on. Well, Mark was saying about flint. I'm in Essex, and we have flint everywhere. So it was in Essex. It was on one of my permissions, and
so have you looked into like on finds.org to give you the entire range of age for that period of things from discovered in that area? Have you had a look at that? See if there's anything of age there?
There's a lot of medieval on that area and Roman.
I was just going to say they were still burying them with people right up to medieval times. They were magical talismans, and they were used as that pretty much right up to about the 13 or 1400s. So it could be a medieval talisman that you've got.
It's Celtic there as well. Funny enough, I found Celtic ring money. Find quite a bit of bit of that. Which
is that a piece of ring?
Well, no, that one I thought it was, but I don't think that is. The ones I normally find have got like markings around them, like and they're. But that I haven't got my glasses on, but I thought I had it, but it's gone somewhere else.
You do know that there's a very similar find to that, which are Tudor and Elizabethan dress weights. They sew the hoops. They sew lots of those hoops around the bottom, little tiny circles.
I think that's what this is.
That looks more like a dress weight, yeah.
Yeah, but the ring money I've got, it's fascinating.
That's amazing.
And I don't know. I didn't know whether. Do you know if they used rings as well as ring? They had ring money, but did they actually use rings as well?
Well, your short answer is yes. If you get them made in base metals, which very often they come in copper, obviously because that's what it is. It's Bronze Age and Iron Age. The copper ones are usually very tiny. They're very small, and they're very often child's rings. They're for children. Because the Celts just carried on the same as the Romans carried on. So if you imagine the two of them as being together, all the things you find for Romans, you very often find the same thing for Celts, but the style is slightly different and they're less well known. So you even get some amazing decorated Celtic pottery with what appears to be a kind of a runic scratch on some of the pottery shards. But everybody knows about the Romans doing that. The Romans had amazing pottery and wrote on it and did all this, that, and the other. But the Celts did exactly the same thing. So you do get a continuity of that. A lot of the bangles, the bracelets that you find and rings that are made of glass are actually not Roman at all. They're Celtic. So, because I'm going on now because that's my specialist subject.
No,
is the Celts.
Keep going.
So don't for 1 minute think that the Celts weren't at least as advanced as the Romans. I mean, the biggest thing for me in terms of advancement is the Romans move in, they build something, and 2,000 years later it's still there with all the rubbish associated with it. The Celts move in, they build something, they live there for 600, 800,000 years, and when they move off, you can't find where they were living. Which of the two is more civilized? I can tell you, because it's the Celts. All the time. They were the equivalent to the Europe's Native American Indians. They just came in and did what they did with the land. They understood it and they worked with it. They had the Druids. They had people that could advise them. The Romans came in and all they do is do what we do, which is go around smashing everything up, wrecking it, leaving rubbish behind, environmental disaster bar, goodness knows what. But, that's kind of the Roman way of doing things, conquest. But the Celts were different. They had a different way of doing things. But they still stole the best of everything. secretly, I think there's a whole nation of Celts out there waiting to steal the best of everything when the current ruling Romans decide they're going to get out of Dodge. But, I've always said that. I've said that all along, probably the Irish, actually, or the Scots or the Welsh, or, I was even saying that before they were independent. If those three nations got together and just chucked out, the worst part of the English and left the genuine indigenous English there and stopped doing things the Roman way, I think we'd just be better off. It'd just be a better way of doing things. You wouldn't have all the nonsense that's going on now. Celts have a very much more matter-of-fact way of dealing with things.
Staffordshire searcher, Shane, he's asked me, can I show you something for him to ID as the flow couldn't?
Okay.
Shane, I don't know which one you're on about, but if you send that over to me and I'll email it back over to Mark.
I do identification. I mean, by saying this, I'm probably causing, chaos, but if you really are stuck, I can usually, put something to it. I used to do that again, a bit of a plug. I do talks at metal detecting clubs. I'd be delighted to go, anywhere that can cover me expenses for getting there. I'll do talks for people and all that now that we're coming back out of the lockdown thing. I'd be delighted to do that. But then wherever I go, I always try to get the club to say, if you're really stuck and you've got finds that are difficult, let me know. I'm not brilliant with coins. I must admit, dating coins, I'm not very good at. But I can give you a general idea. So if you've got a coin that's a bit weird and it's not Roman, I can usually tell you where it comes from. But yes, I'd love to identify stuff. So if anyone out there's stuck, give it a go. Like I said, I've got a little bit over half a century experience in thousands of objects, probably millions of objects by this point.
Adrian, have you seen this? Can you see that?
Oh, is that one of the digs we did?
That's my first ever trench that I've done on one of Mark's digs.
Fabulous. I even recognise the photo. That's ridiculous, isn't it?
Can you recognise there's a wooden leg in the top left-hand corner as well?
Oh, yeah.
Steve Parsons' leg.
Yeah, so there is. That wouldn't happen to be Wales, would it?
Yes, it would. Llanarmon Yal.
That's the one. That was
an amazing dig. Our back garden.
Yeah, that was an amazing dig. Well, there's another
that
program.
particular trench, Adrian. Everybody went on the dinner and left me on my own to carry on. And I moved everything as you would, and everyone came back and played buck at me because I'd removed all the archaeology without it being recorded.
But
the next day, obviously, we come back the next day. The dew had hit the ground, everything had dry, and it just so happened to have been a Roman road. And
having said all that, everybody does that. The first dig I was ever on when I was 8 years old, I picked up the first piece of Roman pottery I ever found and went, hey, look at that. And everyone went, wow, put it back. So, everybody does that. And we had plenty more road to go at. You know what I mean? There was loads of it. So, not worried.
This is also the site, Adrian, that we were sort of digging in this lovely stone. It's like a stone sink in the ground.
Yeah, I decided it was a sacred
I got a crowbar on it and fertled away with the crowbar at this particular stone. It sort of sprung a little bit of a leak, and then the next day we come back and flooded the entire site, and it ended up being the lost well of St. Garmund, didn't it, Mark?
It was Garmund's well, yeah, it was. What happened was the original Garmund's well was where it was supposed to be, which is the one we'd got. But as they used to do in the old days, when they were getting 2,000 or 3,000 pilgrims a day, they just built another one somewhere else to take people away from the original. I mean, they still do it nowadays. So the official one is 2 miles further up the valley, but it's absolute nonsense. It's nowhere near as old as the one we had. The one we got was the original Garmund's well. But actually, if I remember right, you did us a favour because the stone you moved, which none of us had got the guts to shift, it drained the well. So actually, on the day when it happened, we could excavate in the well. It's the only day we were able to do it. So we got all the stuff out the bottom of the well, cleared it down to the bottom. And as you say, when we came back the next day, not a chance. The whole site was under 2 or 3 foot of water. But it was the only opportunity we had to excavate the well. So, you make the best of these things when things have lasted that long. But, when you've got people like, digging up Richard III and there they are with like pickaxes, you know what I mean? And, oh, I've gone through the skull. You're not the only person to do stuff like that. I banned pickaxes now. I don't have pickaxes on any of my digs. If you can't
am I all right to bring a mattock, though?
Well, it depends how bad the dig is, but as a rule, if you can't dig it with a shovel, don't dig it because it's too dangerous. Like you say, you take too much out and you can't put it back. That Richard III dig was the clincher for me. Poor lass that did that must have felt terrible to be doing that on camera. Bop straight through the top of his head with a pickaxe. It's like, oh no.
Dave, I've got Shane's find that he'd like identified.
Okay.
It's the thing he thinks is a coin die.
Ah, yes, the coin die.
I will move over to it.
You're amazing me with technology now because I can't do any of this.
There
I
you go,
see.
Mark.
Can you blow it up as big as you can get it?
With
hang on. Right, okay, I've got some idea of what it looks like on top now.
So it's 30 millimeters.
That's the bit that I was after. That looks to me like it's been handled quite a lot. Oh no, that's better. That's a lot better.
He seems to think it might be a coin die.
The FLO originally gave him that idea that it was. I mean, Shane originally thought it might be something that snapped off.
Yeah,
just looks like that.
Looking at it, I would say it's. Yes, I see where he's coming from as far as a coin die is concerned. I get that idea, but if that's made of bronze or anything like that,
that's nice.
Yeah, you see, if you smack that with a hammer, it'd be good night Vienna. That wouldn't work as a die. It's not hard enough.
Yeah, that's true.
I think looking at the corrosion as well, it's probably not. If you said that was medieval, that would probably be the oldest an item of that corrosion would be. I was looking at it. It's been handled, so a lot of stuff's sort of worn off it. But
I think you actually only found that about 6 weeks ago in Staffordshire.
Yeah, I get where he's coming from. It's the right size, it's the right shape, and it's got that punch on top there. Now I'm at the stage of thinking, what else could it be? It looks almost like it's been crimped as well. It's got sort of squashy bits on either side, like it's been held in.
Sounds like me.
Yeah.
Well, thank you anyway.
Well, I think I can rule out a coin die. The oldest I think it could be is medieval, but it does look like it's broken off something else. If he was dead lucky, let's assume he was extremely lucky, it might be the pommel off a dagger or something like that. If it's been introduced as a weighted piece, if it's snapped and the thread bit's missing, so it's got knocked off, then if you know what I mean, it could be that dagger pommel bit, just the end there. And the reason it's so heavy is it's weighted, so it's weighted against the blade and everything else. So, and I've seen pommels that have got those little dints in them because they're cast more as weights than decorative. So it could be related in some way. And if it comes off a battlefield site, then it wouldn't surprise me at all that it's either a proper made or a homemade pommel weight.
I think, if I'm right in saying, it's probably one of his Roman sites, if I remember correctly.
Again, yeah, it could be a weighted pommel. That's the best. Looking at it without handling it, that's the best I can do from photographs.
I was right. It is a Roman site. Go me.
Yes.
I never get things right.
I was trying to find Shane. He was he is a driving instructor, isn't he, Dave?
Yes.
And in lockdown, obviously, he didn't have any business, so he bought a metal detector and went out detecting, and he has some amazing finds.
You always call it beginner's luck, but it never is, because luck's luck.
Yeah, it's some great stuff, and I'm very jealous of him because if he hasn't got someone booked in for a lesson, he can go out detecting. Whereas, sadly, like me and Dave, we have to go to work and do our. But no, we love our jobs, and yeah.
What's worse is that some of his sites overlook where I'm working while I'm there.
Oh, does he wave? Does he wave as he goes by? You know,
Probably gives me the V's.
Mark, have you ever had a metal detector?
Right. This is the honest truth. I went out and I actually bought a metal detector in 1974. So you can
Good
imagine,
year, that, Mark. Good year.
It was, but you can imagine what kind of detector it was. It was a butty box with a battery pack that went ooh, and that was it. So if you were on something, it went ooh, and if you're off something, it didn't make any noise at all. So you're walking along and it just goes ooh, and that's it. You've got no idea what you've gone over. So when I'd kind of run out of, drains, tin cans, horseshoes, pieces of chain, I mean, I gave it a good go. That summer, 74 to 75, that summer, I gave it a really good go and decided that I was going to stick to the trowel. I was going to get in a hole and, do the whole archaeology thing and go down that route.
Mark, does it make you feel old that you had that metal detector the year I was born?
Oh dear. Do you know what? The only thing that makes me feel old actually is the way I'm beginning to look, because under lockdown I've changed appearance quite a bit. And those fabulous black locks I've got, have all disappeared now and they've all gone grey or waved goodbye. So, that's the only thing that makes me feel old. Other than that, I'm exactly the same person inside. I'm still running around doing exactly the same things I was doing back then. So, it's one of those.
Well, metal detectors have changed a lot now.
They have.
Well, Mark's a big advocate of metal detecting.
Yeah.
He employed myself and Steve Parsons on several of his sites in the past to do metal detecting surveys of the archaeological site. I say it every time I speak to Mark. A very well-known metal detecting find in Cheshire was found on his Manley Old Hall site, the Bishop's Ring.
I was the first person to hold that on I think it was the Sunday morning after the Saturday afternoon when it was found. Mm-hmm. So the very first identification ever done on that, I literally sat there with a laptop and went blah, 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 and wrote it all out. I had a shot at translating the inscription on it and one or two other bits and bobs. That was the only description that went right the way through the entire process, right through to the end when it was sold. So I pretty much got it right. So, but that was a life-changing moment when I was holding it. It was a ring. I was holding a ring in the palm of my hand that was just absolutely breathtaking, unbelievable. But I am an enormous fan of metal detectors, but I'm also aware of the fact that anybody that owns a machine is essentially a professional, because I've seen these, I've had lots of metal detectors over the years where they just walk across the field and they'll go, that's a nail, that's a coin, that's a piece of iron or whatever, and then they go, that's at 2 inches, that's at 6 inches, that's at 10 inches, that's at a foot, and all they're doing is listening to changes in the pitch of what they're listening to. And again, utter respect, and the ability to preserve objects now has come on in leaps and bounds. There's an entire book's been written on it now, so a lot of the finds that you guys are essentially rescuing, because that's what you're doing. You're saving them from being corroded away or destroyed in the fields. You can now also preserve them. So as an archaeologist, I'm a heck of a lot more happy now, even than I was back then, in metal detectorists rescuing them. I always say to people, if you find archaeology and it's out on the surface, for goodness sake, pick it up. Make a note of where it is, but pick it up, because the next time you go back, it won't be there. It'll be gone. So
the only downside to all of this is that since lockdown, the hobby has grown massively. So more and more, the machines are getting better. They're getting cheaper, and more people are finding stuff, and the flows can't cope. So they're inundated with people handing stuff in. The treasure process is taking even longer. I mean, I've nearly 3 years I've been waiting for a bishop's ring, medieval bishop's ring that I found. And it's now with the coroner, and he's really busy and backlogged because of COVID. and the museum's busting. They literally said to me, they've got no more space now to store any more finds. They can't. They want to give it back, they can't, because it has to go through the coroner first. So it's a bit of a nightmare at the moment for those who hand stuff in, and you want to get that back and preserve it if the museum doesn't want it, but you can't get it. It's sitting there.
The COVID's had the reverse effect on archaeologists. Obviously, our funding and our work and our ability to function has pretty much gone down the toilet. Most archaeologists are self-employed as well, so you can imagine that's just created chaos. There's a whole level, if you like, within archaeology that has just gone. They've just vanished. They're all serving burgers in McDonald's now, or they're all whatever. They're working in pubs and hospitality because they couldn't afford to get through 22 or 23 months of nothing. But I stuck to it. I've decided, that's what I am. I'm a self-employed archaeologist. I'm still here.
You were a tutor at Chester University for a number of years, and they themselves, they've put more or less a stop to that program, haven't they?
Yeah, they have. I was also an exam invigilator as well, so for a couple of counties. So it's hit that. It's hit the visiting lecture series has been hit. And I also lecture for Wilmslow Guild, which is the oldest adult learning body in the country, possibly in the world. I think it's coming up for 100 years now. It might be next year, actually, thinking about it. But they had to change what they did as well and modify what they did. So I've only actually been in class teaching once in the last 2 years because of COVID. So it's really impacted very badly on that, very badly. So I get where you're coming from in terms of things being held up. I know I shouldn't officially say this, but off the record, I think if you find things, you still need to know where you found it, under what circumstances, what it is, etc., etc. Get as much information as you possibly can. But I would certainly hesitate for at least 12 months before I put it into the system, because, like you say, the system is just totally overloaded. The only way to stop that is to stop feeding loads and loads of stuff into it and give it time to string out again. Because it will work. It works. It's a great system. It's the best one in the world. I've not found anywhere that does it as well as we do. But sometimes you've almost got to do the thinking for them. They'll say, oh, legally you've got to put it in straight away and all this, that, and the other. But 12 months isn't going to do any harm. The field isn't going anywhere. The find isn't going anywhere. There's archaeology that's took. I did a report for an archaeological dig that took place 73 years before the report. I wrote all these notes up and everything. It took 73 years to get a report out. So it's not the fastest industry in the world. 12 months or, whatever isn't going to make any difference. 12 to 18 months, just hang on a bit.
Unless it's treasure, where you're legally bound to report it within 14 days. But
you have to do that.
Philip Wills in the chat, Mark, has just commented that they should repurpose processing the archaeologists who are selling burgers at the moment or whatever. They should be repurposed to processing metal detector finds. But I think it's not just there's the treasure committee, the valuation committee, there's the museum, there's the finds liaison officer, there's the coroner, and I think it's just a whole.
It's more basic. It's more basic than that. It's one word. It's money.
Funding.
Money.
Yeah,
funding.
You're right. Funding.
There's none at the moment. We're at this nasty situation where there's none. Archaeology units up here. I won't mention which one it is, but it's one particularly famous one, has actually gone. It's not there anymore. So there's whole chunks of the archaeology world that have just disappeared for lack of funding.
That's sad, isn't it? It is really sad. It is frustrating, but it will give it a year or two, and all those people who brought £1,000 metal detectors in lockdown who are fed up with it, they'll be on eBay, and then it'll all go back to normal. But yeah, I think it's a great hobby. It's good for you. Yeah, it's lovely. I love it. Everyone I know loves it, and if I won the lottery tomorrow, most people go and buy a speedboat or a Ferrari. I wouldn't. I'd just go out metal detecting every day, and make sure I had a big burger van. And Dave would be chauffeuring me, and he'd be my security guard as well. So
I'm not digging your holes, mate.
oh, but no, I'll get my mate James to do that. He's like a dog anyway. Digs
Oh, I'll
down.
tell you what I could do. I could be chief badgerer.
Let's not get onto Badger. We could spin the wheel.
Let's spin the wheel. Let's spin the wheel on Mark.
Coil. Sorry,
Mark,
coil.
spin the coil. Hold on, my computer's freezing.
Mark,
What are
we
you doing now?
have a little. It's like a bit like a sort of village fate themed wheel we spin with random questions on, which we get guests to pick. But we didn't do it last week, did we, Dave? I don't know why. Probably because we're too busy waffling on. Have you found it? Have you started it up? You've got the choke on because it needs warming up.
Hold on. Let me just. Yep. Hold on. We're getting there. Here we are. I'll even put it. Well, you can't hear it, but right. So here we go, Mark, for your first question. See how we've evolved.
Oh yeah.
Do you wear a hat and what sort? Of all the perfect questions.
That's actually extremely funny. Yeah, I do. Whoop! Series 1 of Lost Treasures. I wore a Matador hat, a black one, and the 2 subsequent series, it was an Australian bush hat called an Akuba, and that's a black one as well. So yeah, very, very specific, distinctive hat. Indeed, yeah, I do. I don't normally wear that every day, but I do wear it a lot.
Brilliant. Right.
Even I knew that one.
Spin the coil. There's a few metal detecting ones in here, Dave. So
let's change that to your dream archaeological location, Mark.
Wow. You have to give me a minute on this one. I'm going to say in Bulgaria, they have a valley, and it's not far from Sofia, which is the capital city. As you're looking at the map, it's kind of off to the right. And this valley is full, they reckon, of about 30,000 burial mounds.
Wow.
And what they've done is they've started at the front end of these burial mounds. They've dug about half a dozen, and they've had gold and treasure out of every single one of them. And there's just, as far as the eye can see, just mounds, loads of mounds. I would love to go back to Bulgaria and do some work in that valley.
Do you know that makes sense? I follow Archaeology Bulgaria on Facebook, and they're quite often putting things up gold finds, and that obviously makes perfect sense.
Well, I'll let you into a little secret, because when I went out there, they were still suffering because the Russians had pulled out. And there was just nobody there at all to do anything. And I actually met the head of archaeology for the country, for the whole of Bulgaria, because I went visiting Dolenko Tarnovo, which is the old capital where the archaeology headquarters are. And it was a lady. And she actually, through a translator, she actually said to me, she said, do you want a job? Because we're looking for a number 2. You could be the number 2 archaeologist for the whole of Bulgaria. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'd love a job like that. It pays about £3,000 a year.
Sorry.
Yeah, that was my reaction. And then I got on the plane and I flew home, and I was sat at home and I was thinking, I might have just missed an opportunity there. I could have shot myself in the foot, because I was thinking of all the sites that are out there, and I was thinking, who cares? You know, food, house, who cares about that? I should have said yes, really. But then, of course, had I said yes, there probably wouldn't be any lost treasures or anything like that. But yeah, anyway, there you go.
It's funny because I just tested a metal detector made in Bulgaria, and it's very popular out there. I'll ignore that one.
Redo that one.
And I found a gold noble with it, and it's a basic machine. Well, not basic; it's a powerful machine, but it worked well.
That's not as daft as it seems.
Go on then, beat your field.
Beat your field. For an archaeologist, actually, that's an interesting one, because archaeology on the coast is a different kettle of fish altogether than doing archaeology in a field. And I actually do really enjoy beach combing. I like beach finds. There's a lot of stuff turns up on the beach. I can't tell you exactly where, but on Anglesey, for example, there's a beach where the burial mounds have been eroding into the sea for years. And you pick up some incredible stone axes. You just walk along the beach and they're just all lying there on the beach if you know what you're looking for. I didn't believe it because somebody else told me about that, and I actually went down there and I found one within about 20 minutes of going on the beach.
Wow. Yeah.
So actually, beach or field, if I'm in a relaxed mood and I just want to, you know, go out and walk in the sun and listen to the waves, I think I'd take beach.
Got a lot of beach. Detecting, absolutely hate it. But that's my me.
You guys have got the opposite problem, yeah.
No. Well, could be relevant.
Yeah, it could be. What would I name a detector?
Oleotron.
I was thinking of eyes in the ground, actually, because you know you have eyes in the sky, you know, so eyes in the ground, because you can see below the surface. So yeah, eyes in the ground model.
Write that down, Adrian.
I have. I'm just buying the domain.
Can't do that one.
No. Could be the Hob. No.
Do you dream of archaeology?
Do I dream of archaeology?
In colour.
I don't think I ever have. I'm being absolutely honest there. I don't think I've ever gone back to doing anything that I've been doing archaeologically. I think it's down to the fact that some of the amazing things I've done in the real world wouldn't even come close to, you know, what they were if I just dreamed about them. That's kind of killed it. Yeah,
No, we've got 5 minutes or so left, so it's sort of like the end amble of the show now.
Do you want another exclusive? Can I give you?
Yeah, let me just. I said to Mark the other week, Adrian, as well. Any digs he's got coming up, he has to remember me for volunteering from now on. So this year, and Shane, who the coin die, I'm putting his name forward as well. So, and obviously, if you need detectorists, you know where to come there as well. So I'm hoping to be back digging this year. So exclusive 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Here we go. When we were doing all this thing in Knutsford with the prehistoric tools and all that, I featured it on Lost Treasures on the TV program because a lady came to me and actually handed me some flint and asked me, you know, was it anything? Was it important or anything? And it turns out that she dug something equivalent to a sort of manhole cover she dug in the back garden. And she got 3 pieces of flint out, 2 bits which were just battered nothing. And then she got this. Where are we? Here we go. This weird looking thing.
That looks very ladylike.
Do you know what? I'm glad you said that because that's pretty much exactly what I thought. Let me just see if I can find a photo. Yeah, there's a photo. Because I took one look at that and I thought, well, it's got to be one of those, hasn't it? It's hang on, there you go. See if I can. I wonder if I can do this. Hang on, this is going to really test me now. See if I can get them on the same. Yeah, you know, it's not a million miles off one of those. I was thinking, I wonder if it is. So, like you say, it is very ladylike. So I put a call out for her to come and sort of, you know, appear on the program and tell me a bit more about this. It's got 2 legs, as you can see. It's got a tummy. It's got the 2 arm things, and the head is leaning back on this. Now, it's not been made like that. But what I believed was that someone had picked it up because specifically it looks like a Venus figure. So over the years, I've done more and more research into this thing, and it's definitely Ice Age. You're looking at an Ice Age find because of all the other flint and whatnot. I mean, these are the other 2 that were found with it. I've never really shown anybody those, but there's 2 more pieces that were found with this. You're looking at about 250,000 BC with this. So when I started looking at other Venus figures, the oldest one, which is one that was found in France, only goes back to about 30,000 years. So by a staggering, and I mean staggering 220,000 years, this, which is the Knutsford Venus, is the oldest prehistoric Venus figure in the world. Because, like you say, boy, doesn't it look female? You know, in a minute, it really does. It's not man-made, but it's certainly been collected and transported to Cheshire because of its appearance. So I don't think I've really done a piece on that anywhere on the internet before. So
has the material actually been said what it is? I'm getting tired, so I can't remember the word now.
it's flint. It's definitely
It
flint.
is flint, yeah.
Yeah, it's
And
got
has the
one
flint
side.
been the location of where that flint comes from at all?
Well, this is where it gets exciting because I said to the lady, I said, can I go back and we'll open the hole up again and see if we can find any more, because you've got 3 pieces in a size that's about 0.5 meter by 0.5 meter, and she went, "We've just built the patio over it." So the answer is no. So they haven't got a body under the patio. They've actually got archaeology under the patio, but it's on the banks of the River Liffey, backing onto Tatton, where we're getting all this material from. So it's exactly the right thing in the right place at the right time. So, maybe if they tear the patio up, she'll get in contact with me again. But there's another one. There's another one of those amazing.
And
finds.
obviously, because of the lack of flint in Cheshire, then you
no
can say
brainer.
it's definitely been brought to the area at some point.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. I mean, a standard things in Cheshire look like this. This is a standard Cheshire find. That is an ore working stone from Alderley Edge, and that's what normal things look like. You kind of hold it like that with a pointy bit down, and you bash the ore with it, and it breaks the ore up. And all these little kind of knocks and bangs all the way around it that you can see. That's someone shaped it. That side's got a lot on there, but it's made from a river pebble. That's just a pebble that someone's picked out of a river. So you can see it's got water-worn top thing. That's what you tend to find. That's new for Alderley Edge as well. I just threw it in. It was only found in 2015. And they haven't got any of the ore-working tools from there. So that's gone into the Manchester Museum records for Alderley Edge. But that's what you normally find. It's not very impressive. It doesn't really look like anything.
Bloody is to me.
Well, quite pleased for it to have turned up.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
So, Adrian, have you got anything else you'd like to ask Mark before we depart?
No, because we'll be here all night. I think I had some questions, but I wrote them down about a month or 2 ago, and I've lost them. So they'll probably.
Well, I'll tell you what, Adrian. I can send you Mark's email, and you can ask him yourself.
Definitely.
And I appreciate him offering to help out with anyone's finds, because
anything I can do.
Yeah.
The last piece of television I did, I think you were going to ask me about. It's on Iconic Media, which is David Icke's channel. I did a pilot series for a program he's doing on walking. It's called The Walk, and I do about 22 minutes I do on Avebury. So if you can find episode 1 of The Walk out there on Iconic Media, that's the last thing I did to camera. That's quite an interesting thing. It's worth watching to see what comes out about Avebury.
That was your pre-YouTube days for your new YouTube channel.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't know. Don't blow the gaff on that one yet, because I'm not sure. I'm still kind of looking at the idea of doing something on YouTube. It'd be really nice. I mean, that's beyond exclusive because it's still rattling around in my head. If I can get the technology and the method for doing it sorted out, I'll be doing that. I think I could probably do sort of half an hour programs on stuff and perhaps float them on YouTube. So that's what we're looking into at the moment, because I'm really brassed off with Facebook with the way they've behaved recently.
Quick plug on your book, though, Mark. Quick plug on your book.
Quick plug on the book.
Mustn't forget that.
Oh, if I can find it, here we go. You don't want to know what I got down here. I've got a box full of stuff, but yeah, I think it's going to go that way. There you go. Yeah, they are.
Crystal
Skulls and Human Heads, and that's coming out on the 1st of March, and you can order it from Amazon. I'm going to keep it nice and simple. Just go to the one supplier. All the other books are available everywhere, but this one will be eventually. But just focus on Amazon and order as many as you possibly can, because that will get me nicely out of COVID.
It's only £10 as well.
I think it ends up with postage and all the other nonsense to do. It's £10.25.
Bargain.
Which kind of, why bother with the 25p? But apparently they want to. So
cheaper than a packet of cigarettes.
Yeah, what can you do with a tenner nowadays after COVID?
20 fags.
Do you a lot less damage as well.
Mark, do you have any public engagements that are open to the general public to attend in the near future?
I can flip that round the other way, actually, because there's two things going on. First of all, I'm trying to put a tour together. I don't care about all this lockdown pants and nonsense, the rest of it. I am definitely, the end of this year, going back on tour from August to December. I'll keep going till I drop. So my first thing is, if there are any clubs out there, anybody, anywhere, within a couple of 100 miles of the north of England, I will come out and I will do stuff for you. So please book me. I've got 37 different topics at the last count, and a lot of them are metal detecting related. And the second thing is, the short answer is, no, at the moment I don't have that tour planned out, but I will be back on the road, and there are bookings coming in for August and September. So stuff will be coming up. I used to say follow me on social media, but you're just going to have to wait till I sort that one out, which I will, I can assure you. At the moment, I'm looking at kind of Instagram and Twitter and stuff like that.
Or you can utilise the Archaeology and Metal Detecting magazine and the Big Detecting Show. We can put that information out for you, obviously.
Yeah, why not? I will, as soon as I know, I'm going to send an email out to everybody. And basically, I just think everything got very baggy. Before lockdown, everything kind of, nobody knew who was doing what, and I was everywhere doing. I mean, the last tour I had cancelled under COVID, there were 75 dates, but most of the groups weren't talking to each other. So I want to try and join all the lines up now and try and make it a bit more substantive for people, so that they know where I am and they know what I'm doing. So hopefully, certainly by the middle of this year, there'll be a lot of information coming out. That's what I'm aiming for.
Well, if you want a rather snazzy website, I know somebody who's fantastic at website making and design. And hi, Adrian, you all right?
You're selling yourself very well here, actually.
Adrian.
Davis, yeah. And if you're looking for someone to make cakes for parties, bar mitzvahs,
eat cakes.
Oh, I'm sorry, eat cakes.
Eat.
Get it right.
Yeah. So he has his cake and eats it.
Definitely. Do you know what my nickname was by Mark on site when we were doing the archaeology? Super Dig.
Super what?
Super Dig.
Super Dave. I think it was Super Dave.
I was the stupid one who just went and dug everything up within a couple of minutes.
It was quite funny, because if we had a place that we needed clearing fast, we'd send him in. There's no doubt about it. Him and his mattock, it'd be like, off you go. You know what I mean? Boom, gone. But that meant we got a lot of things done as well. So hats off to you, mate. You really did shift a lot of stuff.
And I've twice got pulled out of a trench for turning purple as well.
Yeah, but can't fault you for your enthusiasm.
Stopped me breathing and didn't realise and went purple because I was so engrossed. Get out the hole. No, I'm enjoying it. And do you know what? We talk about metal detecting being therapeutic. Again, exactly the same feeling, Adrian. Lying in a trench on your belly, scraping and dusting away.
Yeah, or even doing it on the way home after a rally. It's with ale, which I quite often do, but
there was a fair bit of that as well. We archaeologically explored quite a number of hostelries on our way back.
The Raven in Llanarmon and Yal.
Oh, that's gone, it's shut.
I know, yeah.
It doesn't exist anymore. That was fabulous. My very first dose of Black Mountain was in there.
I thought you were going to say clap then.
No, it's an American, not American, Welsh. It's a Welsh brew.
Yeah,
they brew in North Wales. It's amazing stuff.
Well, listen, Mark, I'm going to let you go now. Tie it up. Obviously, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you as ever. I can't thank you enough for joining us. And, as I say, you're more than welcome to utilize any of our digital media channels to promote or highlight. Obviously, when the book comes out, that'll be reviewed and obviously cascaded throughout everywhere. So, and
if anyone wants to book me through you. That's the way to go.
Yeah,
I think.
If you want to contact Mark, give me a shout and I can put you in communication with them.
Absolutely.
Next week's show, we haven't got a guest lined up yet because I missed last week and didn't realise I'd missed last week until I went onto the itinerary today. So we will have somebody. Hopefully, Adrian's contacted somebody today, haven't you? So really looking forward to speaking to that gentleman as well. If he comes on, but we will have a guest, no doubt, next week anyway. The following week we have a Dr. Christopher Monk coming on the show, and then in the end of February, Mark, you'll know these people. We have representatives from the Sick to Death Museum in Chester, which is all Roman and medieval illnesses and such like.
Oh, so, you'll love them. You will. You'll have.
They are fantastic.
With them. Just make sure you've got a bucket of pox cream to hand. You know, you'll be all right.
Got me tablets. Right. Thank you again, Mark. Everybody, we will speak to you next week. Have a great week, everybody. And that's us. Good night, all.
Cheers.
A pleasure. Good night.
Thanks, Mark.